Well, it has been a chaotic night, I think we can say, live in Sheffield. Dave Bradshaw here alongside RevPro owner and booker Andy Quildan. We've just come off the air. Cold night as well, by the way. It's pretty freezing up north, it turns out. I thought it was pretty cold down south, but here we are. So much going on tonight. Goodness me. It did feel like that, it's always there's always an element of chaos when we do when a RevPro hits town, but it just feels like so many of the wrestlers are just starting the year in this kind of crazed way where they're going at each other and nowhere more so than in our main event. Let's start there. The undisputed British Tag Team Championships on the line. A rematch, of course, from last week in London when Lycos Jim defeated the Young Guns. We said it on commentary, though. When the titles are on the line, the champions take it up a notch. They did that again tonight.
Yeah, that was a hell of a tag team championship match, very befitting of those tag team championships. We say it all the time about our undisputed British heavyweight championship. I think it's time we start putting more credit into the undisputed British tag team championships, the most prestigious tag team championships in all of independent professional wrestling, and with a tag team champions who are in the discussion for best tag team in the world right now in Luke Jacobs and Ethan Allen, the Young Guns. And, look, the Young Guns are a team that people have been raving about for years and years and years. But the Young Guns are a team that have matured as professional wrestlers. They've matured as a tag team. They've come into their own. They know exactly who they are in the ring. They complement each other perfectly inside the ring. There's so many good things that you can say about Luke Jacobs and Ethan Allen. And really, like you say, it's when they're back, not when the back's against the wall, but when the gold is on the line, when it's high stakes, that high stakes environment. We saw it against CPF last year. We saw it in the rematch with GYB where they put so much pressure on themselves. We've seen it time and time again. When the stakes are high, there's no one better than the Young Guns. And they did a fantastic, fantastic job tonight against a very, very game Lycos Jim, who again proved that if they can remain on the same page, they can be world beaters. And tonight wasn't their night. And it was a little disappointing to see them arguing at the end because everything was going right for them. And it was just, if it was any other night, I want to say against any other team, Lycos Jim would have won that match, but they were up against the Young Guns who were in rare form tonight. And it was a real great main event. And it was a great way to end, for me, which was just a top to bottom fun show of professional wrestling, a diversity of different styles of wrestling on display with a ton of chaos sprinkled on top. And it's just really a great way to start the year here in Sheffield.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I say there's been so much chaos is it feels like there's been several instances already this year from London and now Sheffield where there's been wrestlers had to be split apart.
It's the road to Wembley, Dave.
Yeah, we are. Said it. It's already heating up and we're still, almost 8 months away still from Wembley Arena, August 29th. Don't forget, tickets still available at revolutionprowrestling.com. Let's talk about what's been going on in pursuit of the undisputed British Women's Championship. We had two more great matches tonight. Kanji and Alexis Falcon, first of all. Speaking of people who had to be separated, lots of ill will between those two. And Kanji got taken to a place by Alexis Falcon tonight I don't think we've ever seen her taken to before.
Yeah, she's proven she can be gotten to, hasn't she? Because she's always been almost the calm violence, if And
what you mean. Yep.
I'm glad someone does, but she's always bell to bell. It's always been business to Kanji, hasn't it?
There's a measure to her psychological approach normally, but not today.
But Alexis Falcon has been doing what she does best, pushing her buttons, and Kanji snapped. And look, I don't believe this is going to be the end of what we see of Alexis Falcon and Kanji. And it's very interesting as well, the way that Alexis approached this, because she has tried to rile Kanji up. She says she knows that deep inside Kanji there's a killer and she wants to get it out of her. But I think it's all about her own selfish gain, her own selfish means, because she knows that if she knows how high Kanji's stock is, right? She knows that over the past years, since that match with Mercedes Moné, since the build up to that match, that Kanji's been a name who's been on the lips of wrestling fans from around the globe. And she wants to hitch herself to that wagon, so to speak, but she wants to make a statement at Kanji's expense. And she, like you say, she has pushed those buttons. She's taken Kanji to a place we've never seen before. And it's created a very intriguing and dare I say, uncomfortable scenario between the two. And you've got to feel like it's a powder keg just waiting to explode again. And I'm not sure how this one's going to be over between the two, because it just seems to be deep. It seems to be personal. And even, Kanji obviously got disqualified, Alexis Falcon the winner. It looked like Kanji was somewhat vindicated the way she came and attacked Alexis Falcon after the match. It felt like she got the measure of revenge, but then all it took was that smile on the face of Alexis Falcon and having her hand raised in victory, and Kanji, boom, snapped again. So, like I say, this is not the last we've seen of this rivalry between Kanji and Alexis Falcon. But it's just crazy, isn't it? Just the level of competition, and I guess the excitement that brings, because I think it's like, just for me, I love seeing wrestlers in different styles of match, to see how they compete stylistically differently to how they would in for example, this match has been fought completely differently to the way Kanji and Mercedes Moné was fought. A battle of respect, a game of human chess, if you will. This has been more of a game of battleships, Well,
but that's the thing with Kanji. It's the lack of respect from Alexis Falcon, both towards Kanji herself and also towards Mercedes Moné. That's what's really poured the fuel on the fire here, right?
Yeah, and I do. It is a lack of respect, and that's what Alexis Falcon's all about, though. And she said it. She makes no mistake about. She's very open about the type of person that she is.
Yeah.
Right. You saw the New Year's resolution. You know what she's all about, and she's unapologetic. And that's what finds a success, and sometimes she's deplorable, sometimes she does horrible things, but you can't argue with her success. And to me, what was quite impressive about Alexis Falcon, if we're going to unpick some things from that contest, was the fact that she was more than happy to stand toe to toe with Kanji. She took some of Kanji's best shots and came back swinging.
And came back smiling.
And and it was a very interesting contest. And look, I just think you can't discredit Alexis Falcon, because wrestling can be fought in a number of ways, and the game of mental warfare in a professional wrestling match is another big part of it, which is often overlooked. And she's a master of that.
Now, another two who had to be separated were Sky Smithson and Amira. That was obviously last week in London when Smithson attacked Amira before the Oku and Joshua match. This week, tonight, we saw Sky Smithson taking on Rio. Rio ultimately winning with the package pile driver. Smithson couldn't even leave the building before Amira attacked her with a spear. I just wonder, thinking about all of that, thinking about Rio's victory, Kanji and Falcon, we've just talked about the Cutthroat Collective. There's so many people who've got to be in contention in your mind to be the next to challenge new champion Alex Windsor. Where is your head at with all of that? There's so many people plate spinning.
Yeah, I just feel the women's division is just an exciting place right now in RevPro, and that's great. And look, that's what we want. We want our champions to be competitive. We want our champions to be looking over their shoulder, and we want there to be a line of people queuing up for that right to get a championship match, because that breeds competition. And when what we've seen across the years, and as I always say, when we're going towards a big show and it becomes super fight season, when we have competition, it breeds intensity, it breeds unpredictability, it breeds those emotional situations. I think that's what we're seeing throughout our women's division. Now, if we track back a little bit, so look, Rio certainly, she's going to be very disappointed that she never got that the victory in Uprising over Mercedes. But it's been alluded to, it's been spoken about a lot. Many people say that it's a physical nature of that contest with Rio but wound up ultimately costing Mercedes Moné against Alex Windsor. So, Rio, I'm not sure she's going to take that as a consolation prize, but Rio knows she gave Mercedes Moné the fight of her professional wrestling life. Mm-hmm. And Rio knows that on another night, just one slight movement different, things could have been completely different, and she could be walking around with that undisputed British Women's Championship right now. Because when you get that close to something, it makes you want it even more. And I think what we saw tonight was a very focused Rio, and she defeated Sky Smithson tonight. It was a physical match, and Sky Smithson gave as good as she got. And then we unpack it further and we look at the Amira involvement with Sky Smithson. And I think what's fascinating is that Sky Smithson think that Amira would just let things rest between herself and Sky after the way Sky quite frankly assaulted her last week in London.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? It's very, there's a certain amount of arrogance to it, isn't there? She was, as she came out, she looked over her shoulder as if to be like, oh, where's Amira? Oh, like as if to say that nothing was going to happen. And of course something was going to happen because every action has a reaction. And we found that out firsthand today, or Sky Smithson found that out firsthand today when she was almost speared out of her boots onto the stage, a hard, unforgiving stage by Amira, who got her measure of revenge. Now, is Sky Smithson going to leave it there? If I'm a betting man, I'm going to say no. And we find ourselves in another situation, another combustible situation. And these are the situations that I kind of dread as a person, but as a promoter, I kind of thrive off of, because it creates these situations which we can then utilize. This sounds really bad, doesn't it? But it's the business of the fight game, right?
Mm-hmm.
These situations happen, and this isn't one of those things where these situations happen and we're like, oh, that's really bad. Oh, what are we going to do? No, get in the ring, fight each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I guess it's a level of competition. It's bred that the just everyone jockeying for position. Just so many different elements, right? And like I say, as a promoter, it's one of those things that you look at and you're like, well, we've got a lot of options here, and we've got a lot of things, a lot of exciting matches we can put together for the people, for the fans. So,
I mean, as you say, as a promoter, it's a nice problem to have. I do want to talk about a couple more problems you've got at the moment as a promoter.
Add it to the list.
Some of which you might think are nice problems to have. A couple, I'm not sure though. In some cases, one of them, perhaps it's got to be pretty near the top of your list right now, is the problem between Michael Oku and Connor Mills, because that obviously had another chapter to it tonight. Mills and Joshua taking on CPF in tag team action immediately after that match finished with a tap-out victory for Connor Mills. Oku charged to the ring. Things got heated, obviously, between him and Mills and Joshua. There was some collateral damage. Danny Black of CPF, Maverick Mayhew, then kind of started a bit of a ruckus with Oku. This ongoing problem between Oku and Mills, which seems so intractable because it's gone on for a number of years now, as we've documented. As the promoter of RevPro, what are you doing next to try?
Look, honestly, I don't know, because with Oku and Mills, this is one of those things whereby it's very hard. When they fought each other a few years ago, it was like Michael Oku said, "This is it. This is over. I'm not fighting you again," and it wasn't. No, and it's tough, isn't it? Because Connor Mills is adamant that this is never going to be over, but the more adamant Connor Mills is never going to be over, then the more adamant Michael Oku is it's never going to be over. They're both two stubborn young men at the top of their game who've been best friends and fallen out of each other. I don't think there's anything now that's going to be able to bring them back together, especially after Mills' actions last week, because we know how important the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship is to Michael Oku. We know the pressure that he puts on himself. We know he thrives off that pressure. We know he thrives off that responsibility of being the man who is the face of the company, of being the man who carries the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship, being known as a British Heavyweight Champion worldwide. And Connor Mills took the chance for him to be that again away from him. He took the chance of him to be a history maker again, to become the tied most reigns as undisputed British Heavyweight Champion, matching Zack Sabre Jr. with 3 undisputed British Heavyweight Championship reigns. Connor Mills took that away from him. And that's going to be very, very hard for Michael Oku to get over. And we saw that tonight, and we saw that when people get in the crossfires, Maverick Mayhew, Danny Black, bad stuff can happen. Michael Oku's got tunnel vision on Connor Mills, but he's not focusing on what's going on around him. And that's a dangerous position for Michael Oku to be in. I sympathise with him, absolutely. Do I think we need to try and get another Michael Oku and Jay Joshua match in the ring? Absolutely. But we can't do it while this stuff with Connor Mills is going on. And I don't know how we resolve it, but Michael's making some enemies. CPF are not happy with Michael Oku after tonight as well. So, like I say, did anyone?
Sorry to interrupt. Did anyone from CPF come to you after that? Because that did feel pretty heated.
Yeah, look, Maverick Mayhew wants Michael Oku,
right?
So it's a match that I guess we're going to try and put together.
Okay.
And what happens from there, who knows? But again.
That's an enemy Oku didn't have until, as you say, he was kind of CPF in his periphery. He's focusing on Mills, and suddenly he's made more enemies.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's what happens when you're in these destructive relationships. It can do stuff like that. And it's tough because Michael wants his focus, and it's what's harder for Michael, I think, is like, and something that he might want to take a deep breath and think about is the fact that, like you say, like he's now created more enemies, but he's now created more obstacles in the path of his pursuit of that undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. And that's all created because of Conor Mills, who's been the orchestrator of this chaos from the get-go. And Mills may feel like he's matured, but like I don't know. I'm sure he's very proud of himself with the chaos that he's caused, and not just caused Michael Oku, but caused him, like mentally and whatever, but then the chaos around him in everything else. And I'm sure Michael Oku is also thinking about Amira and her battles with Sky Smithson, and it's a lot for one person to shoulder the weight of, So, like I say, it's tough. It's tough.
Not to pile on, but one more problem while we're here. The new Sons of Southampton, David Francisco picking up the count-out win over Leon Cage tonight, but we all saw how that happened. It involved the assistants, should we say, of Kelly Siggs and Josh James. That's not the first time that's happened now with this group, who say they're going to take what they want this year. They're sick of playing by the rules in RevPro. How are you going to keep Francisco and co in check going forward?
Look, I've got no idea, but let's just say, as far as the new Sons of Southampton are concerned, there's a new sheriff in town, or back in town, and his name's JJ Gale. So it was great to see JJ Gale back in RevPro today, running off the Sons of Southampton, and like I say, like he wants David Francisco. David Francisco wants no part of him whatsoever. We'll see how that all winds up. But like I say, like I feel like that's one less. I don't want to say it's less of a problem to worry about, because obviously there's still multiple problems coming out of this, and there's still a very, very tense situation coming out of this, and there's still a lot of very stubborn men involved. But I hope that it will stop David Francisco's reign of terror, in the sense that David Francisco is just out of control right now.
Look, there's so much more we could talk about from tonight. We haven't even really touched on Trent Seven and Liam Slater, which you could make a very strong case. That was match of the night. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, and Liam Slater's interaction with Lycos Jim at the end of the show as well. Like, he's always playing games and bringing Harry all the way to Sheffield to send him to the back. Like, he's always playing games.
Well, we said on commentary, to try and understand what's going on in the mind of Liam Slater, he's playing this kind of 4D chess that none of us understand.
I can't understand straight chess. So.
Look, one thing that isn't a problem for you, because it's a problem that kind of sorted itself out, is who's going to be the next challenger for Joe Lando, the undisputed British cruiserweight champion. Because after his again controversial win over Leighton Buzzard, Will Caven immediately got on the microphone, challenged Lando for a title shot this coming week in Coventry. Lando clearly immediately coming out, clearly very eager to accept that challenge. Can you confirm, are we going to see Lando and Caven live in Coventry this Sunday?
Yes, we are. HM the Empire, 7 days time, undisputed British Cruiserweight Championship on the line. Will Caven says he wants his belt back. He's got his opportunity to get that back next Sunday live in Coventry, and Joe Lando's got the opportunity to chalk up a third championship defence since winning that championship at live in London 102. So was it 102? Yeah, it was 102 in the championship, wasn't it? Yeah. So yeah, he's already on to his third championship defence. He's realised he's got a target on the back. He's realised life is lonely at the top. It's nearly cost him friendships. But luckily, obviously, Mayhew was there to be the glue to bring it all back together. Yeah, it's going to be a big test for Joe Lando, and also a big opportunity for Will Caven to try and get himself back to the top of the Cruiserweight Championship mountain. So that's going to happen 7 days' time, live from the HMV Empire in Coventry. So lots of exciting matches to come for a week's time in Coventry.
Want to give us any more? Go on.
We're working on putting together Maverick Mayhew and Michael Oku. So again, it's always hard because I never know when this is going to go out, and hopefully, well, look, if this goes out before that, then you've got a little bit of a scoop. But if it goes out before that and the match doesn't happen, then we have failed to put together said match. So it's not as simple as me just going, "There's a match, click." Yeah,
a lot of moving parts, as I think we've established during this conversation. A lot of headaches for you right now, but
but certainly coming off of tonight. That's what Maverick Mayhew wanted, and I don't think Michael Oku's never ever said no to a challenge. I think that I can't remember a single time when I've come to him with a match and said, you want this match? Where do I sign? That's the answer always. So I anticipate that we'll be able to put that together, but we'll see, right? But like I say, look, 7 days' time, live in Coventry, HMV Empire. It's the first show back at the HMV Empire in 2026, which means new season tickets. So if you want to save money on those tickets, revolutionprowrestling.com, get yourself a season ticket for live in Coventry. We're coming back 6 times in 2026. And we promise it's going to be bigger and better than ever. And again, just another note to say thank you to the fans of Sheffield for coming out tonight. So many different weather warnings. That a lot of people were cautious about what if they they'll come into the show or not. But again, Sheffield came out in numbers, they came out in volume, in terms of noise as well. And it's just great to be able to continue to bring high-level pro wrestling to all these different parts of the country, however far away it is from my actual home. But it's an absolute pleasure, and this feels like such an important time for Revolution Pro Wrestling right now. And it feels like we really are on a history-making run. It doesn't again, it's not like we're here like history tonight. It feels like we're writing that history as we kind of go, and it feels like, I don't know, maybe 2026 is a year that we'll write books about in the future.
There's a quote, right? How do you know you're in the good old times while you're still in them? And I think we are right now in the good old times. This is the time we're going to look back on with a lot of fondness, I think, because as we saw, just incredible, just a great pro wrestling show.
Yeah, and I think when you're going 100 miles an hour and you go from one show to the next, it's very hard to take that time to breathe and appreciate and enjoy, right? And like I said, last year we took the whole of January off. This year, we've got one more show to go in January, but this is, the fourth week on the bounce. It'll be the fourth week on the bounce of shows, 1 week off, and back to Porchy, back to the Porchester Hall.
That's what we call it now,
Porchy Hall, we call it.
Yeah. Nice.
So affectionately, we call it Porchy Hall.
I don't know if that's going to stick. I don't really like it.
It doesn't really matter what you think, does it? So on to Porchy Hall.
Okay.
First Sunday of February the 1st, I believe, we'll be at Porchy.
I'm not calling it that.
It's like I say, it's great. But things are moving week to week to week to week, and again, lots more dates still to come, lots more exciting things still to come. We're going all out this year, the same as any other year, but I feel like we've got there's just a renewed sense of confidence amongst everyone, amongst the crew, amongst the wrestlers. The vision is there. We all know we're all singing off the same hymn sheet. We all are trying to achieve the same goal, which is to make British wrestling bigger than it's ever been, and to make Revolution Pro Wrestling bigger than it's ever been at the forefront of the whole of independent wrestling. And we want to make British wrestling be the envy of the wrestling world, because we are delivering these shows week in, week out, high level every single week, and it's the good times, it's the good days, so let's just enjoy them.
Yeah, and the next part of that mission happens this coming Sunday, as we said, live in Coventry, HMV Empire. Hopefully we'll see you there, Andy. Thanks as always for your time. Let you get off. It's a long road back to the south coast for you tonight. Not much short for me to get back to London, so we're going to go and hit the road. But thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you again next week.